Does anybody know who the heck Angel SCHLESSEr is? Do you know? Gosh, I discovered 3 fragrances from this house on FragranceNet. I felt like they were great value for what you get. I bought all 3 of them, discounted to around $50. And these are from a designer. It's a Spanish designer. I know who Angel SCHLESSEr is, but I don't really have any fragrances from this house. Never really found anything that I really liked. In fact, I've smelled some of the fragrances during my travels in Spain. It just none of them really clicked with me. But I took a chance with these 3 fragrances, which are Deep Leather, Sensual Patchouli, and we have Sublime Rose. Sadly, there's a vanilla also, which I couldn't get because it just came out last year. But these 3 that I'm going to talk to you about that are currently selling for around $50, launched in 2020, and they're created by Hamid Merati-Keshani. So find out about these budget fragrances from Angel SCHLESSEr coming right up. Thanks so much for tuning in. This is Sebastian. Let me know if you're a fan of Angel SCHLESSEr fragrances, or if this is your first time hearing about this brand. As I said, it's a German brand. I'm sorry, not a German brand. What am I saying? It's a Spanish house, but to me the name sounds a bit German, so I should look into the brand itself. But as I said, I've discovered some fragrances on my travels in Spain. Never really clicked with any of them, but when I saw these fragrances, 3 different fragrances focusing on one ingredient or note, I instantly thought, okay, I'm going to take advantage of this deal, $50 approximately for each fragrance on FragranceNet. I'm going to buy them and perhaps tell you about them. And these do not disappoint those of you that are into budget fragrances and you're maybe starting out brand new with niche perfumes perhaps, or you want to jump to the next, level of designer fragrances that are kind of in the private blends or, their exclusive collections and things like that. I think these will satisfy for sure because they smell like the main note they're focused on. And so it's a great way for you to learn to smell these notes in fragrances, and they won't break the bank either. So I've got my little mug here with strips, and I'm going to smell the fragrances on camera for you so you can see my reaction on these fragrances. The first fragrance I'm going to talk to you about is Deep Leather. And this is a collection, I'm going to butcher this, L'Eau d'un Instant Absolu. So it's a collection of fragrances. 3 fragrances created by Hamid Merati-Keshani of Firmenich, launched in 2020. The 4th one, it's Opulent Vanilla, and that's created by Philippine Courtiere, who's with Symrise. Yes, Symrise. So anyway, this is Deep Leather, a 2020 launch, Hamid Merati-Keshani, and I would call this a leather woody fragrance, and it features 3 notes that they credit: leather, bergamot, and vanilla. So, shall we smell? I've tested these out, I've worn them, and this one to me is a very buttery leather, but you experience these kind of suede leathery qualities, so it's very buttery, creamy, smooth. But while you're wearing it, you're also getting some of that kind of charred, smoky, leathery touches in there as well. So it's leather, which is great. It's a great note in fragrances, and most likely this is some kind of an accord created to smell like leather, which I quite like. And of course they've mixed it with vanilla to sweeten things up, because leather can go very savory for me and not having any sweetness. And I feel like when they have this kind of like very non-sweet ingredient, I kind of need some sweetness in it to balance it out, and this one definitely does. So this is very spicy for sure. There's a spiciness about this leather, and of course very leathery, but of course, as I was saying, there's a suede touches here, so it's buttery, smooth, and perhaps the vanillic touches is contributing to give you that kind of smoothness. Suede, smooth, and of course light smoky. And when I'm getting the light smokiness, I'm also getting a bit of a green leathery touch, but very buttery and warm, powdery, very slight animalic. And they mentioned bergamot. I think the bergamot is very, very minuscule in this. It's not overwhelming in bergamot here. It's not a citrus fragrance whatsoever. For me, it's the fine fusion of a leather with vanilla, So it creates woody touches, creates ambery touches, and some, you know, spices do come in for sure. And then you have that very light touch of bergamot. So this is deep leather, currently selling around for around $50. Let me show you the box. It comes in a box like this. They're not the best quality boxes. Sometimes the bottom opens up, and so they're not very sturdy. So I feel like it's gonna pop out, but not this box. I think it's one of the other boxes. But again, it's for around $50. Totally worth it, and perfect for newbies, I think. It does smell expensive. I wouldn't say these smell as expensive as some other brands, but for me, for a budget fragrance, definitely very quality. And if you're into the idea of a leathery fragrance, definitely check this one out. So up next, it's Sensual Patchouli, and once again, I'm a big fan of patchouli, and this one doesn't disappoint. If I had to pick my favorite, I think it would be Sensual Patchouli. Then I would put Deep Leather and the Rose, Sublime Rose tied together. Of course, I haven't smelled the vanilla because it's kind of fairly new, so it wouldn't be at the discounters. But as I said, these are selling on FragranceNet. I was doing some shopping one day and I saw them and I thought, wow, this is pretty good. $150 for 3 fragrances that are 100 ml each, focusing on these notes, and I can learn about these notes and yada yada. So I didn't buy these for me. What I did, also for clients here that come in for consultations, but I bought them to talk about on the channel. So Sensual Patchouli, once again, is created by Hamid Merati-Keshani, features notes of patchouli, black pepper, and jasmine. So that's the thing with these 3 fragrances. They only credit 3 notes. With the vanilla, they have a lot more notes credited for it, but with these 3, there's only 3 notes. I do get a bit of freshness in here with this one, more like a citrus freshness, but I'm not really seeing a note credited. So most likely there is some, you know, like a bergamot note thrown in there, because there's a floralcy about bergamot, and the fact that they have jasmine in here probably kind of like, you know, accentuates the jasmine and, you know, adds some freshness. But let's go ahead and spray it. This patchouli does seem a bit on the green side, and I feel like maybe it's subconscious. As you can see, it's kind of green, but it's not really. I think it's just the kind of patchouli. It's not the kind of patchouli that goes ambery, vanillic to create that chocolate cakiness. I'm not getting that here, so I'm getting more of a greenish vibe, and also very spicy, but fresh spicy, not much warmth here whatsoever. So the patchouli is very earthy for sure, and also very, very woody. And there's also some sparkliness there about the patchouli as well, mixed with the black pepper spice. And even though I say in videos I'm not the biggest fan of black pepper, but mostly if it's a fragrance about black pepper. This is not about black pepper. It's called Sensual Patchouli. It's about patchouli. So I think it really does wonderful mingling with the patchouli, because they do work wonderfully together, and it just accentuates the freshness, because for me, black pepper is not a warm spice. So this fragrance to me doesn't have a lot of warmth, and that's why I feel like it does go a bit green as well, because usually green fragrances don't have that warmth. But very spicy, very earthy, and the flower, jasmine, comes in as well. And I think the notes are really working wonderfully together, and you know, balancing out the notes together. So I get earthiness, spiciness, woods. Definitely, patchouli is part of the woods family, so it definitely creates a woodiness because it's a base note. There are also balsamic touches here for sure, and it's very fresh. They're definitely very fresh, and I feel like the pepper, the black pepper, and the jasmine, for me, jasmine is a fresh note as well. Just kind of accentuates the freshness for me. And I am getting a little bit of citrus, as I said, tiny amounts. Most likely there is some bergamot in here, but I think it smells great. If you're looking for a wearable patchouli, definitely this one works. I wouldn't call these fragrances beast mode. That's the thing, they're not, but definitely very pleasant fragrances, with the patchouli being my favorite. Really love that one. I can totally wear that on a warm day. The leather maybe not. I would wear the leather in the warm day as well, but that patchouli on a warm day, I think it's going to project with the heat, with your body temp elevated a little bit. You're going to create a trail. That is going to be fantastic when I want some sexiness, because there's definitely some sexiness about Sensual Patchouli, and the fact that you wear it, it'll leave a trail, especially when your body's warmed up and it's warm outside. That's going to be perfect, I think. So if you guys don't know Hamid Merati-Keshani, he works for Firmenich. I speak about Firmenich quite a bit, and in fact I speak a lot about Firmenich perfumers on the channel, and it's interesting that he's created these 3 fragrances. I didn't hear about these fragrances when they were launched in 2020, although I don't really go around looking for Angel Schlesser fragrances because, as I was saying, I sampled a lot of the Angel Schlesser fragrances in Spain when I traveled there. Nothing really stood out, but these definitely are quality, and the fact that they focus on individual notes, I think they've done a great job. But I think fragrances eventually end up at discounters, so these are going for a great price currently. So the next one we're going to talk about is Sublime or Sublime Rose. Once again, a 2020 fragrance or launch. Hamid Merati-Keshani. I would call this a floral rose fragrance. Definitely has floral qualities. Maybe some woodsiness in there as well. And of course, they also have saffron in here, so maybe a bit of leathery touch. So rose, saffron, and cypress. Cypress has a very aromatic green woodsy qualities. And I really, lately I've been really enjoying cypress in fragrances. And here it does really create this kind of aromatic greenness, meshed with the rose. But let's go ahead and spray this, and I'll tell you all about it. To me, it's definitely got a very Middle Eastern rose vibe. If you like those kind of rosy fragrances, definitely check this one out. To me, when I was first getting into fragrance reviewing around 2012 with my previous channel, I was really into rose fragrances at the time, buying as much as I can, and this reminds me of something like that. So maybe these are a bit late coming to the market because this reminds me of those kind of Middle Eastern-esque rose saffron fragrances, but it's still quality, I think, and definitely worth checking out. For me, there's a leathery vibe, and there's definitely a rose water, smell in here. I've sampled plenty of rose water as a delicacy to eat and drink and things like that. There's definitely that kind of a touch in here, and it totally does remind me of like that Middle Eastern rose saffron combo. Definitely, like it smells like it. And I've had plenty of fragrances with rose and saffron. It's also a delicacy. It's created in cuisine as well, and this totally does it. But it's definitely very spicy, has woody qualities and aromatic qualities. It does create a leatheriness, but I wouldn't call this an animalic leather. It's more about an aromatic leather created from a spice, because the note of saffron creates a leatheriness. It's interesting. It definitely does, because I have plenty of paella. I'm a fan of that dish, and I can smell leather in paella because they use saffron and creates a leathery accord. And so in this fragrance, the fact that they have rose, saffron, and cypress, the rose and saffron are the kings here. The cypress is more of the balancing act to balance out the fragrance, and definitely there's a leathery touch. But along the way here with Sublime Rose or Sublime Rose, there's also something sweet, like almost gourmand edge, but not quite. So maybe there's something vanillic in here, or something resinous, like benzoin or something, to kind of create a thick, kind of sweet gooiness in here, along with the floral touches of the rose and the spicy touches of the saffron. So that is Sublime Rose. That's the 3rd fragrance I'm talking about. And again, these I bought just to talk about on the channel because I took a chance, and I hadn't really had great luck with Angel Schlesser fragrances, the stuff that I had sampled on my travels in Spain. But luckily, these turned out to be pretty darn good, and it would be great to have here in the studio and also to talk to you guys about these fragrances. I think these will be great featured in a future winter themed video, and I think the Patchouli would be perfect autumn fragrance, but the other two definitely more like winter fragrances. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Opulent Vanilla, even though I don't have the fragrance here. This is a 2022 launch, and I'm looking to get my nose on this one because it sounds really, really great. And I do enjoy Philippine Courtiere's fragrances. I think she does a great job with some fragrances. She works for Simrise. This fragrance was launched in 2022, whereas these 3 were launched in 2020. So I don't know why that they went from Hamid Merati-Keshani to Philippine Courtiere, but maybe he was busy, or maybe Philippine Courtiere's brief one. I don't know. by the brand, obviously. So this is considered an ambery vanilla fragrance, and it features notes of vanilla, coffee, salt, myrrh, narcissus, plums, honey, lime, saffron, tobacco leaf, violet. See, as I was saying, they've credited so many more notes for this fragrance versus the other three. Only had 3 notes credited. But I don't have the fragrance here to actually smell on camera. I'm going to wait to get my hands on it. But it sounds like it's going to be sweet and vanillic with amber, for sure. There's also powdery touches perhaps here. Of course, fruity, tobacco-ish. So warm, spicy, balsamic. And I got to say, like gooey, honeyed, molassesy touches as well, because there is the note of honey in this fragrance. This one sounds super delicious. And I believe I have a fragrance created by Philippine Courtiere that is an amber. And this does say online an ambery vanilla. So I have high hopes for this one, that it's going to be a great fragrance. But anyway, that's all I have for you today. If you're in the market to buy some new inexpensive budget fragrances and you are new to the fragrance world, I think these are great entry-level fragrances for people that want to kind of get into niche but want to stick to designers. These are not offensive or anything. I think they would make great entry-level fragrances for those of you that want to discover rose fragrances, leather fragrances, and of course patchouli fragrances. But if you've sampled these, let me know. Put a comment down so I can find out. And if this is the first time you're hearing about Angel SCHLESSEr fragrances, do tell me that as well. As I said, I've heard about the brand, not a German brand. It's actually a Spanish brand from Spain. Anyway, thanks so much for watching today's video on these fragrances from Angel SCHLESSEr. Let me know your thoughts on them. As I said, if you have any questions or comments, please list below. Please like this video. Please share it. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be back with more videos very soon. Have a good one. Goodbye.